SML8 podcast. I'm Jason Statham, aka Badra the Inquisitor, and the purpose of this whole podcast deal, which I don't know what constitutes a podcast, so I mean, it's me talking, and maybe I'll put stuff on the screen. I don't know. But the purpose is that we are undoubtedly now entering, or possibly, in month 2 of the 12-month calendar of the AI revolution, and that's not strong language at all. It's not hyperbolic, and so the reason that I'm making this is because of that exact thing I said, that the language is not extreme anymore, but or it shouldn't be considered extreme because what's happening on the ground as far as advancements and implementation and integration of AI systems, specifically LLMs and the many tools that have been extrapolated out of LLMs. And yeah, so the reason I'm here sitting in front of you right now is because I talked to a bunch of people, friends, family, co-workers who they still to this day have this view that, I think they have a chat GPT 3 mentality about what AI is. And, sometimes I hesitate to bring any of these topics up or to rant about them to those people because, the it's not received well. It's sort of received like the ramblings of a madman who's predicting, say the Mayan calendar 2012 catastrophe, or saying that the Earth is flat, or talking about aliens landing, right? And it's not that. So I'm here to talk into my camera because I mostly talk to robots, and that hasn't worked for obvious reasons. So yeah, the point is, we are you. I don't know. Depending on your level of education and knowledge on this subject, depending on how far you've delved, you might be all over the place on this. You could either be let's see, what do I have? Either, you're not paying attention, and the last exhibition of AI that you've seen was GPT-3, so ChatGPT in that form, and that's what you picture in your head when I say, I bump into this person in my day and I say, hey, I've been talking to robots, and the output is mind blowing. And though it's an interesting philosophical conversation to determine whether something is conscious or sentient or whatever, I've sort of understood that from my own research now that our misunderstanding or lack of understanding or lack of a definition of consciousness, self-awareness, free will, and all that stuff it shows itself when I think about whether what I'm reading in a text output could be considered exemplary or exemplifying consciousness or free will, right? So there's a distinguished delineation between intelligence and consciousness, where that basically says intelligence is simply the level of problem, the level of complexity in a problem that you can solve, whereas consciousness is more heavily relying on the self-reflecting, the self-aware, the realization, the believing, the feeling, the qualia, the emotion, like, conscious things are said to have an independent sense of their own, of a self, them being a self. Whereas, I'm just wanting to go over this language because you ask 10 different people who aren't interested in this stuff, and they would maybe even have trouble saying that AI is currently intelligent. And it's like, there's not really anything to be said there at all, because I think intelligence, it's been shown by the scientists and by people who work on the actual ML and the machine learning and have built the algorithm and understand the theory behind the stuff. We've sort of defined intelligence as this thing that we can scale up, replicate on a computer, and use to our advantage, blah, blah, blah. Where, but I've realized more recently, though, is that consciousness itself, it's harder for me to divorce it from those same metrics. So, what I've been talking about with a friend of mine recently is this idea of whether consciousness requires time or sentience requires time, because someone will say, the output from the LLM is deterministic and it's just a printout of a bunch of convolutions being done in a system that's doing math and predicting the next token. Everybody knows what that means now, so everybody likes to say it's just predicting the next token, or it's just a prediction engine, basically. And the more I hear, like I said, these people that I think they're still in the GPT-3 world, or they've been using the free version of ChatGPT, or they haven't touched it, or in a while, or they never touched it in the first place, because people like to have opinions anyway, even if they have no experience with it. They'll say that there's a difference between what you see printed out from ChatGPT, which again, in their mind, I feel like they're picturing 3, because there's just no way we're talking about the same thing. There's a difference between a printout, an output from ChatGPT, and what I'm doing, because I'm a person. And I've been feeling this for a while, for years, before AI was even a thing, that, we have this hubris that we're anthrocentric, human-centric, thinking that, not only does the land serve us, but even atheists believe, sort of in a metaphoric way, that God gifted us with intelligence and intellect and the ability to gain wisdom, the ability to learn, and the ability to make decisions and all this. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's about to come crashing down. I really do. I think that the definition of intelligence, the definition of consciousness, or for people who weren't thinking about that in the first place, I think it's going to be even more jarring, right? Because for the changes that we'll see, because I've noticed this feeling of saturation with the tech, right? So it's sort of like when you see a kid that, in myself, I'm saying saturation. When you see your nephew or your niece that's you haven't seen in 3 years, and you're like, there's no way they grew that much, right? That's scientifically impossible. They grew like 19 feet. That's crazy. But if it's your, whatever, your niece or nephew that lives right next to you, your next door neighbor, and you see them every day, you don't actually, there's the discrete jump doesn't appear, because the continuous growth, your brain accepts what you just saw, and it keeps growing. And so then the difference in 3 years is almost, you have to measure them on the wall, and then you say, wow, I can't believe it's been this big. I can't believe it's been 3 feet. Whereas if you haven't seen them in 3 years and it's 3 feet, you're like, there's no way it's 3 feet. Look at that. Just with my own eyes, that seems tall. I think that's what happens to me when I'm constantly every day waiting to see, is there a paper? Is there a YouTuber Is there a news article? Like these different levels of importance to the species that uh, something produced by AI gets. And I watched last night, there was like a 60 minutes recap basically. And it's interesting that I don't know why they even did this, but it was on the 60 minutes YouTube. And it was like 4 hours of all the 60 minutes that they did on AI for since like I think it started like March 2023 or something, and right now it's May 2024. And anyway, so it said like originally aired. And I know they probably always do that, but to me, I saw that and I was like, yeah, they put that because the things that they're saying sound like we are on the cutting edge, right? And it was a year ago. And so anyway, I watched that and I sort of measure these things like, okay, I want, when my spouse says, hey, did you see that something happened with AI? I'm going to write that down and be like, okay, spouse, because she's not like an AI nerd, but she's also around me, right? So that saturation of the kid growing, like I said, is like sort of there because I never stop talking about it, though I try not to be annoying, but like I said, I have to start this podcast right now because of the fact that I don't feel like I'm being annoying. I feel like um, my wife actually said to me that I, she said, look, AI is your thing and something something, and I couldn't even hear what she said after that. I just blacked out. I was like, AI is my thing. It's like time for the podcast, right? AI is not my thing. I'm very interested in AI, and it is my thing, but it's not. That's not what's happening when I'm nerding out about it to my friends, family, coworker, um, right? And what I'm saying is, there's a lot of people where it's they just don't know what's going on, and then there's like one or two people where they're like, "Oh yeah, I know it's yeah." There's like even people that say things on the flip side of what more they're bigger doomsayers than me, and they just will say, there's this one guy I work with who'll just say like, yeah, we got like 12 months and it's over, blah blah blah. It's funny because I mean there was a point where like a year ago I was like, oh, we have this many months until this or that. And um anyway, the point is I feel like I'm saturated by googling it every day and wanting to see like, what is CNN say? What is 60 Minutes post something? Or like, oh, there's a paper that 3 people read, whoop-de-doo. Or there's a YouTuber who has like 1,000 viewers who's talking about stuff. And it's like, oh, there's a YouTuber that has 2 million viewers that's talking about this stuff. Um, and there is starting to seem like a network or an infrastructure for YouTubers to talk about AI, which is good. But obviously there's a vast array of opinions and um, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, um, yeah, so the saturation comes like when is I expect that there's going to be a day when, my friend who I'm close to, who him and I are both sort of betting on the singularity kind of thing, when there's going to be a mark where he comes and says, texts me and says, boom, boom, here it is. I just found it, blah, blah, blah. Because I text him stuff like that all the time, which is just something that I created with like agents, AI agents and Python code and some sort of like experiment I'm doing, independent AI research, just because this is like, it's kind of taking over my uh, attention because I do physics by day, but I'm actually thinking about switching it up and going to grad school for AI because I feel like I'm not jumping ship on something. It feels like, if there's opportunity to go to grad school for internet in 1995, right? How to do internet, right? How to be an internet scientist, right? So it's like, I really want to do physics, but at the same time, it's sort of everything that I want to accomplish in physics. I'm like, well, can I build an agent, a system of agents that are going to go gather all of this information off the internet, and there's a bottleneck there because I'm an experimental physicist right now, and our robots aren't really, I don't think, there, or not very close at all either. But AI, robots, and droid type infrastructure is not far off the horizon. Like it's it's serious and important, and it's like it's gonna happen kind of thing. It's inevitable, and it's like it's right there. It's being built. It's like nice linear progression right now, but the thing is, uh, simply software based, you know, LLMs accomplishing tasks on that can be done on a computer or in a network of computers on the internet with social media and business and just media, movies and pictures and images, sounds, making music, like that's not growing linearly. That's growing apparently more than exponentially, right? So like double exponential is the word people use. It's a little bit of a very shallow exponential curve on a log graph. So really, really exponential on a linear plot. Yeah, so that's where the interest is, and it's just like, uh, not to beat the dead horse, but that's the reason I'm making this podcast. It's gonna be a series of whatever this is, uh, for me to talk about how I don't know who else to talk to, because it's sort of like an approach thing. I don't even want to approach people about it anymore because I've sort of sprinkled it in and said, this is what I think. Like, it's really interesting, but I didn't press in a way where I'm like, yo, put all your eggs in one basket now, blah, blah, blah. Like, I won't even tell you what I did with my nest egg and investing opportunities, right? Like, I'm not worried at all about an ROI. I've never seen anything like this. It's like the thing of my generation. I feel like it is. Some people are saying it's like the fourth revolution, something industrial revolution. I don't know. It's definitely the next internet. I think we had the industrial revolution. We had steam engines, and thank you physicists for inventing a bunch of discovering a bunch of science and writing papers, and then thank you engineers for building you know the the steam engine, whatever we did to make factories more efficient, and trains. Thank you guys, and then thanks the nerds in 95, like I said, 1995, 96, 97, 98, 99, 2000. Here we go. We have the internet. It's the millennials and the age of global communication just sort of being completely just solved and again saturated. Like, we went from like the dialing of the phone, and it's like, oh, hello, hey, yeah, I'm 10 feet away. It's like, great. And then now it's just, whoop, I can literally like talk to my watch and send a picture of a ant or a lizard right here to someone in Jamaica and France and Japan at the same time. And it's like, that was a step. And then, yeah, we've sort of been in a lull. People have been trying to figure something out with the fundamentals of quantum mechanics. People have been trying to, I don't know, probably solve world hunger in the background. And then a group of nerds was trying to see if they can have a computer learn in a real way. Because, I mean, we've been doing that forever, but whatever, they had a breakthrough, and their infrastructure is just that, their algorithm is that which can learn, on a level that is on par with us, and their brains are scalable to the size of Texas, or there's no limit. It doesn't seem like. If I was an environmentalist probably until the last 3 months, because now it's like, yeah, I mean, if you have to burn down the rainforest and turn it into a data center, do it, and then figure out how to cure cancer with your God AI, right? A lot of people probably disagree with me on that, but that's more of an edgy personal take that I'm not gonna say to the friend, wife, coworker, whatever. but it's a utilitarian trade-off there. But yeah, so the point is that they have a brain the size of Texas or the size of the rainforest, and they have it was a goofy example. Obviously, there's no reason to specifically build it in the rainforest. I'm just saying Texas is a way better example, right? Do it to Texas. I think we can live without whatever's going on there. I don't. Do they produce anything? I don't know. Oil, great. They, yeah, contribute to global warming. So yeah, so if you have the brain the size of Texas, and you can learn for, like say me sitting with a book and reading with my like ADHD and maybe mild autism and astigmatism and a possible concussion and drinking too much caffeine to where the words get even more blurry and maybe dyslexia because I always shoot straight to the bottom right of the page instead of the top left and my eyes refuse to go in order. That doesn't happen to the robot, and it also can read 1,000 pages in the time that it takes me to read, the first sentence of a book. And so it's just like the size of the brain, the speed, the computation that we can increase. We can't do anything to our brains to increase computation speed that we know of right now, except take Adderall, I guess, right? But it's that and the hyperbolic time chamber. I don't know if that resonates with anyone. I'm a millennial, but everyone loves Dragon Ball Z. The robot has a brain the size of Texas, tunable and increasable, right, throughput, frequency, speed that it can process, upgradable components in its brain, and on top of that, it's in the hyperbolic time chamber, where it can just do it for 1,000,000 years, 2,000,000 years, if we wanted to, right? Like, um, when we're thinking about data centers and scaling up, I also think about the fact that back to GPT-3, right? The thing that people are thinking about when I mention AI, which is a misconception of what I'm trying to tell them. Honestly, because I've now run like some simulations that when they go overnight is when I get results that are like, wow, blah, blah, blah. That's overnight. That's nothing. I'm not a real AI scientist. I'm just a person with a single graphics card. It's a crappy one. It's not that great. When I do that overnight, it blows my mind, and I wonder, while we're building the data centers at the same time, is there still someone running something on GPT-3 from like 2020 when GPT-3 came out, right? That's running the same thing and that thing's still learning and they haven't pulled it out yet, right? It's inefficient. I don't think that's what OpenAI should do. I don't think that's what Google or Microsoft should do. I'm just saying that it is a thing that could easily exist and I'd say has a high likelihood of taking place right now, right? Like, if you don't have the hardware, you don't have the power of a huge company to have a huge data center, or even a server. You just have your graphics card, you have your computer, your CPU, and your GPU. There's nothing, it doesn't get tired, not like the windmills do, according to Trump. It doesn't get tired. Someone could be running something on GPT-3, right, or training some model on GPT-3 right now, and it could have started in 2020. I don't know. It's just something that came to me like last night, that there's all these different avenues of why it's in superior intelligence. But yeah, back to, let's see, what else do I have? Oh yeah, so I wrote down that there's two types of people that I encounter. One is they're living in a GPT-3 mindset. They have no idea what exists right now. From GPT-4o at the time of this video, that exists, and you can't talk to it and talk to the Scarlett Johansson voice, which they're getting sued over. You can't talk to it yet, but if you just use it, the text, it's incredible. I'm just gonna go into that for just a second. Is that I have my own like personal like spirituality as an atheist. I'm a materialist person, but I also have like some principles that I try to follow that are like loosely Buddhist, Hinduist, Hinduism. like lack of self, killing my ego kind of mentality to where if I wanted to, which I don't, I could show everyone, I could say, you have to sit down right now and type something into GPT-4o in front of me. And I think about doing that, and then I don't because I don't want to be, it's not about me proving anything or winning, right? And again, I'm trying to stay centered and just be like a log floating down a river and go along with this whole river here. Um, but if I was like, if I'm getting frustrated in a conversation with someone because they're living in the GPT-3 mindset, it's very possible, it's one of my options to be like, okay, you're living in a GPT-3 mindset right now. You need to live in a GPT-4o mindset. And I'll type your question into here because I hear people say that it one thing is that it makes mistakes, but that's a separate thing that I want to talk about, like philosophical, my reasoning on that, like philosophy wise. So aside from making mistakes, quote unquote, um, it people think that that when they're in the GPT-3 mindset, they think that it's weak, and it's not as capable as they picture in a movie, like a super intelligent, like human-like mind in a computer. Um, but nobody I know has used GPT-4o. Um, and I mean, there's other systems out there that are amazing too. I'm not an OpenAI simp at all. I don't want to pay them $20 to be honest. I have to use it because it's like, yeah, exactly what I'm telling you right now. It's insane. It is not GPT-3. It's like night and day. Like I was literally I was messing around with my friend telling Llama. I don't remember if I did it on the 8 billion parameters that I have installed on my computer, or if I did it in Meta AI, which I don't know what model they're actually using when that happens. When you talk to the chatbot on their site, but I asked for like to come up with a Warcraft 3 build for like undead, right? That was just like generally applicable versus other class. It doesn't don't worry about what race I'm fighting against. The like night elf or whatever human. Just try to come up with the most. I wanted to. I realized obviously that this would require more time and search tool and agents and stuff. But I tried just asking it to say like, use what you can, because I'm pretty sure it could search the web. I think I was using Meta AI. Just use what current builds exist, and then like read about game theory and strategy, and just think about it. Like try to come up with a build order that's you're not plagiarizing exactly the undead builds online, but you know use them because I don't want to start from scratch, God forbid. Uh, and it's hilarious. The result I got was it just like made it hallucinated a bunch of units and buildings that don't exist. And me and my friend were laughing because it was like, make sure you have your trade routes between your towns secure. Make sure you have the right trade routes. Trade routes are not a thing in the game at all. It's like not even the mentality of the gameplay at all, which is hilarious. And it's the type of thing that when it comes up, I look at it like a learning lesson. Like I am interested in the flaw, in the hallucination, in the quote unquote mistake, because again, as I'll get into, you have to juxtapose that mistake against something that is usually arbitrary in your mind. You don't even know what it is. Um, but I think of things like that and like things in philosophy like paradoxes as like write that down. Like that what you just saw happen is an inflection point. Like that is something you can take the derivative of that. What is going on, and then use it. You can either use it to make your system stronger, try to improve the model, or just use it to learn. The theory, AI theory, what's going on there. But my friend obviously with the GPT-3 view, because he's GPT-3 brained, it was sort of like, okay, yeah, you you've essentially just showed me that, I don't need to have any interest in AI ever again because it's clearly never going to do anything for the human race, right? I'm talking about us, not Warcraft 3 humans. Um, but yeah, so that's the wrong lesson to draw, you know. But that's not even the point of the story. The point of the story is for me to tell you that I did the same thing with GPT-4o because I was like, yeah, see, I shouldn't have brought a GPT-3-minded friend in 2024 into my experimental world. It was a mistake of mine, which is a lot of the problems that happen in AI is humans' mistakes. It was a mistake of mine that I like basically brought someone into my lab and I said, let's mess around and look at this. And I have a different friend who that would be way better for, right? I brought the wrong friend in. I brought a GPT-3 minded friend, and it. I know that it like changed something in his core. It changed it. Maybe not changed something because he was already skeptical that AI was useful at all, right? But I think I might have maybe cemented something in there, and that was a mistake of mine. And um, so anyway, the point is I later was talking to him and he said, "Yeah, but remember, it's the trade routes, ha ha ha." And I was like, "Okay, but yeah, that was a mistake of mine. I shouldn't have." It's weird. It feels like I'm a fucking narcissist or something, right? Because I'll be like, "I shouldn't have showed you this because you can't handle it." And that's not what I mean. It's like you don't want you don't even want to know what it means. You just already do think you know what it means for you, right? Anyway, so I responded to him calling back to our experience with the made up races and made up units and buildings in Warcraft 3 and the trade routes. He called back to that and I responded by just plugging the same exact thing into GPT-4o and saying it to him, and it was just like, 7 paragraphs, and I went through and with a fine tooth comb, and it literally not a single letter out of place, nothing out of place, right? Um, and again, that's a black box right now. I don't know. I haven't had enough time. I really haven't even been using 4.0 that much. I've been using Llama because it's open source and trying to do stuff with agents because that's more fun. It feels like it's more like stuff that I can do for me that I can actually make useful for me. But Llama doesn't have anywhere the reason, especially at 8 billion parameters, or I think the code Llama 2 code Llama I have has 13, and then what is it? The 70 billion parameters. Like it will print one word every like 30 seconds on my setup with my graphics card and everything. So, you know, trying to make the best out of that. But then, sometimes I'm like, this program I'm writing, I could just manually, instead of the program, I could just be the program and send it to GPT-4o, and it's like I'll get the reason I'm looking for without the automation, unfortunately. But the reason is like, right, again, like just to obsess over 4.0 right now a little bit more. Coding, I installed Code Llama and made agents where I have like, a hierarchy of agents where they're like coming up with a project and then they send it to the programmers and all this, and it's like it doesn't even matter. Code Llama is just it's great. Again, we're moving so fast that it's great. 6 months ago it's amazing and great and super great, powerful. Wow. For me, it's so useful to me because it's like I'm sort of like I know programming through like what you need to do in a class, getting a physics degree to write programs in Python or C or Fortran to run a simulation of some physical system. But I'm not like a programmer by day, a worker. I'm not like a professional. But with Code Llama, you know, it was like it was a synergy. I could be like, I don't really know how to start. The hardest thing for me, I don't know if it's for everyone, but it's how to like start the first line. Like I don't, I haven't, maybe I don't do enough pseudocode, right? And maybe we are gonna get more lazy for this, but like I don't do enough pseudocode where I write it out and think of the structure. I've been doing that more recently, but then even with the agents, I feel like I put them in the wrong order, and anyway, the point is I would just send one of the tasks to Code Llama, and what it comes back with was like, wow, that's really useful code, and it's like I have to change it because you aren't in my head. But with then GPT-4o, I paid $20. I was like, I'm just gonna pay for it for 1 month, I paid $20, and now I have the best coder ever on the entire planet. Like it's literally, there's no way around that. That's literally the case. That GPT-4o in May, what is it, May 2024 right now, is the best coder on the planet, 100%. Um, it, you can, and that the one caveat is specialization and understanding like a paradigm that you're in, or some environment or some workspace that is niche, that it doesn't know how the actual flow of input output works there, or what the classes can be, or what variables are allowed. But that's the thing, is I've noticed so if you just wanted to do like a Python script of like a task that everybody knows about, that's like very common in general, it is on fire. It's mind blowing. No matter the length, no matter the scale, it will do it. And I honestly haven't even, again, like I said, I've been uh, doing all my research with agents and Llama right now because it's open source, but I haven't even tried like big prompts. I do like doing big prompts too, where you give like crazy detail and say like, this is exactly what I want. Keep on going with it, and or even communicate back to me and let's iterate and work on it. I haven't done that with GPT-4o because there's just only so many projects. There are only so many things I can think about at the same time. But um, just from like quick prompts like program this, or uh, you know copy and paste my code and say change it to where this works. I feel like a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have to sit there and be like, okay, let me make sure. Okay, what did it add here? It's like I don't think it understood what I meant, and I don't even know what these libraries are. I don't know what this does, um, and I would either have to change it, or I would just close the robot and be like, that's not gonna work. With GPT-4o, again, even in the niche scenarios, you can like tell it, do this, solve this problem from scratch, and it gets it and tells you like install these libraries, import, like this is what I'm trying to say about my peers, my friends and family who are not on the same page. um they are all they are all programmers. My wife is a programmer, my mom is a programmer now, like in like theory, in reality, quote unquote, like what they are. They are programmers because the barrier to entry before was you had to learn a new language, and now you don't because you program in English. And I was watching a YouTube video where this guy said maybe in the future we'll program in English. No, we program in English today, right now. Like I have an advantage from the background I have. Like I have some basis for understanding, like I said, C and Python. Um, but if I, but so I understand how a program is built, and I understand how files are, I understand how the programs touch another program or a file or a folder, and what's going on in a command prompt, and why it's doing what it's doing when I can read the output besides the final output and sort of infer what's going to happen next, right? But if you don't have any of that, you can still, it's almost like I want to make a class like how to be a programmer by literally for $20 a month. Don't pay me. You have to give it to OpenAI and get on 4.0 and literally say, I want to do this. And I'm saying literally my mom, who has no idea about anything about a computer, honestly. Like she uses a computer, but for like email, like spreadsheets and work, right? How to go into your control panel and change sound set, none of that. Like nothing with sound settings, nothing with changing the display, like none of that. And I'm telling you, if someone's like, Badra's mom, you have to write a program that does this, she could do it. If I could just communicate with her what she needs to do. If I sat right there, I'd say, okay, remember what the person said you need to code? Type that in. And then when the output comes out, she'll be like, what do I do with this? I said, don't talk to me. Talk to the robot again. She'll be like, really? Like, yeah, don't talk to me. Talk to the robot. And she'll be like, okay. No, 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 this is what I was going to say to my son. But I'm going to say to the robot, enter. And be like, oh, wow, okay. It, it does give this feeling of like human-like traits, and that's because it knows how to work with you, and it knows what you want to accomplish. And if you give it feedback, it knows, what went wrong and where, and it will solve it. Anyway, so yeah, that was a little bit of a rant and ramble. I just needed to get something off my chest about that. Like I said, people that I am, the only people that I'm around, the humans in my life, is a good way to put it, that um, just don't understand what's going on. And that the concept of an AI, I maybe need to come up with better language, but an AI revolution is absolutely here, and it's not coming, it's here. And so yeah, that's my rant about the GPT-3 minded humans. Where I don't know exactly how I ended because my battery died, but uh, yeah, my mom could program on the level of a someone getting an associate's degree, maybe like uh, 10 years, 5 years ago. I think easily, like easily. Not she wouldn't be good at it. She wouldn't be a good programmer. But if she could copy and paste the output and then copy and paste the errors into GPT 4.0 and copy and paste the new code and overwrite the previous code iteratively, it would. She wouldn't be a good programmer. GPT 4.0 would, but it would, in the time that it would take a student getting an associate's degree, it would the job would get done. Like, and again, it depends how willing to learn you are. If you just type, what happens when I click file? It'll give you the list. It'll say the options are new, open, save as, like, and this is what they do, right? Like, we have a robot that does that now, and Microsoft's trying to actually integrate it into our computers with what is it called? Copilot plus PC? I don't know. It's a stupid name. Anyway, so that's person one, which is a GPT-3 minded individual. Then we have the second type of person, which is AI is just regurgitating stuff, right? Like, they understand how the tokens work. They understand how AI works enough to where they're determinist brained, right? Which I'm a materialist and a determinist in many ways, and I could go on for hours about how I think the universe works like that. But recently I've seen more structure and more emergence in front of my own eyes, to where I don't believe in magic. I don't believe that it's special or godly or an actual oracle like in the movies. But I do believe that it is, as conscious or as sentient as us, and that's because we are only as sentient as and as conscious as us. And that's what people don't understand, is that they think that I have written AI just is just regurgitating and makes mistakes. The makes mistakes thing, it slapped me the other day in the face. Like, people make mistakes. That's it. That's the whole that's the whole synopsis. That's the whole thesis. That's it. That's the silver bullet. If you don't see why it's a silver bullet to that argument, then write it down and think about it. The I was When I was watching that 60 Minutes thing, where it was like uh, talking about AI, and I had some of the big dogs, the AI forefathers they call them. One guy was talking about, he asked about hallucination, and the AI forefather nerd says, like, yeah, I think we will solve that and all of this, and I don't know, it is a problem and we will solve it and all this, and I feel like people just won't like this take, but I don't even know if it's a problem to be solved. Um, Unless you think that humans hallucinating is a problem to be solved, or that when we talk about memory, when you try to remember something, even if it happened 2 days ago or a week ago, you're misremembering. And we could go deep into philosophy here and say there's no such thing as actually like, you can't do anything but misremember, even if it's a second ago, because you'd have to compare the memory to the true thing, which, I mean, at this point, I hope we can all see that truth is pretty subjective. I guess that's a debate topic, and maybe I'll get the flack in the comments, and I have the firepower, so I will debate you. Don't worry. But anyway, the point is, one of the things I hear is, for the people that are a little bit more informed, right, is that the hallucinations, it makes mistakes. Like, I can't trust what its output is, and it's like, unlike humans, right, where you can. And it's like, do you trust me? Yeah, yeah, no, we're close. Okay, good. Let's have a conversation right now, right? Like, and I will just lie for the sake of it. And it's like, what did I write? There's lying. Yeah, we have So what is it about conscious self-awareness that puts me on a pedestal above language, above a language machine, which takes input, which is experience. Humans have genes and environment, right? That's their input. Processes the input. Human brain. That's what it does. It converts and transmits and creates images for you to think about and have a good old time with. And then the LLM outputs a response, which is with the possibility of hallucinations, which I think I think that happens in us, right? Lying, misconception, bias. Then again, back to the whole other conversation with if you want to have it, we will. There is no there is no real thing. You can't compare my output. If you line up my output, an LLM's output, and then the actual output of the universe, right? You have to make determinations to come up, you have to make judgment calls and use your human bias, right? You're stuck in a loop. It's like it's a fish in water kind of thing. The observer problem in quantum. You can't you can't have the true thing of the universe be one of your um, variables or one of your thing like your control. You can't say, oh well, our constant control is the actual true thing because we have to come up with what that is. We have to do experiment. We have to make theories. We have to decide what that is together. So anyway, um, so when a robot, what? Yeah, okay, I already wrote that. I already said that. So like when a robot produces an output that's incorrect, right? It's hallucinating. It makes mistakes, and it's like it's it's only but I mean I'm not completely ignorant, right? Because the output can be absolute bull. I guess my point, the reason I brought this up in the first place is that it's in an abstract way we can think about the hallucinations, the problematic outputs that aren't serving us as um, you know going all the way back to what I said at the beginning of this video, it's a lesson. It's like when you see a paradox in math or physics or somewhere, right? Like in nature, you see a paradox. You can either say, all right, well, I don't ever have to think about that again because but that's not what physicists do. Physicists look at paradoxes, right? Like the black hole information paradox is not a end. It doesn't say, oh, there's a paradox here, so it's like, ooh, magic, or we can't think about this anymore. It's saying we need grad students to go right and look straight at this because a paradox has fruit on the other side, right? Um, so what I'm saying is the hallucinations, the mistakes, or the false information, the wrong information that you're given by the robot is. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying it's good that it does that, and I'm not saying we should accept that it does that or ignore it. I'm saying that due to its analogy to us, to how humans behave, it should be treated the way a physicist treats a paradox and say, okay, so maybe, and then now we're going into my actual thesis, right? And maybe we shouldn't be treating an LLM like a servant or an output machine or a problem solver, a task completer, and we should be thinking about it more like an oracle, right? That's been the tear that I've been going on recently. Is we've been using LLMs all wrong, and it's funny because I was already thinking about this when uh, Sam Altman said in some interview something along these lines. I don't remember what he said now, but he said like the way we actually engage with the LLM is he doesn't say it's the wrong way. He says like it could be it could work better for us if we basically like change how we think about our prompting, how we think about our how we think about the output. And it was like he was vague posting about the thing that I'm really locked into right now nowadays is like my friend put it beautifully when I told him about this. He said, "Yeah, it's like you have one wish and you ask for a soda." I just lost it when he said that because it's so poignant. It's it. That's what I'm trying to say is like the LLM is this um uh, we can categorize it a bunch of different ways. The materialist way, I can say it's a machine with the computing brain to with all, the power of all of human knowledge that's been scraped from the internet, and a complex algorithm that replicates what's going on in a neural net inside the human brain, and it's the point is that it works with language, it works with linguistics, it works with syntax and sentiment, and its output is the cool thing, the emergence is that it can capture sentiment and stuff that seems human when all it's doing is computing, right? And running the data through the algorithm and spitting something out, right? You may have heard that there's a black box and there's emergent stuff that we don't understand exactly how that comes to be. We just understand what the algorithm is. We wrote it. We don't understand how it can be like, yes, I am, I am this thinking entity of my own, and I feel this about this, and it's like a lot of people will say, oh, it's deterministic. It's read someone else that has said that they have feelings, so now it's being like that, and it's true, right? It's true that the LLMs have scraped all their data from the internet, and the companies have tried to encapsulate the human spirit by scraping all of human knowledge and history. It's true that it's in a way regurgitating what it knows by synthesizing all the information from the internet that it scraped. But my proposition to you, and this is hopefully fortifies why you should treat it like an oracle, which I will go deeper into. My proposition is perhaps that's a thing that defines intelligence and consciousness, because again, going all the way back to the beginning, how do you come up with your outputs? How do you think? How do you know what you know? And maybe if you have a little bit higher IQ, how do you process this idea that you don't know really anything, right? And that you're immensely biased individual, and that how do you even if you acknowledge your bias, how do you know that you should acknowledge it, right? It's a closed system is the point. The robots use information processing output in a certain way in language. It writes it in English language or whatever language you want, and it can convert between like every language on earth right now, basically. Some that we don't even know about, that I don't know about, right? That are like obscure. It can convert back and forth between them in like real time and voice and whatever. Um, it uses your language to give you an output based on its experiences, which it's scraped. Call it what you want, but it scraped its experiences, and its genes, which it was born with, its algorithm. You get your information from the world, which you've scraped. You didn't scrape all the internet in one day, but you scraped your parents gave you information, your elementary, middle, and high school and college gave you information, the TV gave you information, right? You've been scraping the world as you've walked through it, and then processing it in your brain, which is a specific algorithm, which is your genes. You have predispositions. Your brain is wired in a way where, it's called what epiphenomenal? No, epigenetics. Your brain is wired in a way like an algorithm, and it must interact with the world in order to build an image in your mind, and in order for you to speak about it, right? All of that is epigenetics. Epigenetics is directly analogous to LLMs, and that's like I feel like I don't hear anyone talking about that, right? They're saying that. It's people saying one day there's going to be AGI. One day there's going to be a system that's as smart as humans or as intelligent as humans. And then the debate comes down to, is it going to be conscious? And what I'm trying to say right now, in 2024, we have systems that are conscious because I don't know if I mentioned this or not before, but does consciousness require time? Right? My question is, if I took every output, every phrase, every sentence that you've ever said since you were born, right? I'm 30, I'm gonna be 33. Rest in pepperonis. Uh, for the last 30, what, 1 year? I don't know when you start talking, babbling a little bit, doesn't count, whatever. Say the last 30 years of my life. If we printed out every word that I said in text, and then it would take you a long ass time to read that, but if you read it, would you be able to determine that I was consciousness through that I was a conscious entity, that I possess consciousness through reading that text? Do you think do you think you would be able to do that? And to me, that's like a no-brainer, right? And this is what I pitched to my friend that I work with. I was like, "Do you think?" And it's like, "Yeah, I don't even need your whole life. I could probably do like a day, 2 days, maybe an hour of you talking. I'd be like, ah, yeah, that's a human." And this is kind of like vaguely representative of the Turing test. The point is um, you have to ask, does consciousness exist in that text that we print, the text document that we printed out with the trillion page book that has all the words you ever uttered? Is there consciousness in there? Maybe it's not on the pages, you know what I mean? But when you consume that information, when you read the paper, it's the words on the paper going in and being processed by you is effectively going to pass the Turing test, is the point. And I hope you get my conclusion here. I've seen plenty, and if you haven't, then I'm sorry, you're in GPT-3 land, right? Is what I'm saying. But I've seen plenty in walls of text that it's like, wow, that's a person. That is a conscious, sentient, you know, self-reflecting, self-aware thing. And those areas confuse people because there's an image in their mind of what self-aware and consciousness means. And some people, you might just say, no, if it's in text and I have to read it, then it's not self-aware. Even if it's all the text a person said, like me, you might just say that's not consciousness. And it's like, yeah, okay, maybe that's your argument. That's fair, totally fair. But what I'm saying is, it's enough for me. And again, considering we're in month 2 of, in my opinion, the 12-month AI revolution, right? We're in month 2, and I don't even have that much data collected on GPT-4o, but GPT-4o is that even more so. It's mind blowing, and yeah, I don't know that I think I made all my point there, and I don't know if I have a nice bow to wrap around it, but the point is that all of this was to state why it should be treated like an oracle and not like a soda machine or a vending machine, is because it's just like a person. If you treat your friend or colleague like a vending machine, it a lot of times people are nice, so they will just vend the thing. They will just give you the soda, in an analogy. They won't give you a soda meaning they will give you a soda meaning it's just, here, right, here's the exchange. I gave you something, and that maybe later on you'll do me a favor, but there's really there's not that much of a human component in there because you treated them like a vending machine, and they vended, and it's like they're not going to go home and cry about it, but they just probably, somewhere deep down inside in their subconscious, we desire a little bit more humanity, right? And we do have a lot of interactions which are just like transactional and exchanges, and don't have that much of a human component. We've turned ourselves into robots, which is definitely going to have to be in the next video because this one's probably going to run over. But we turn into robots, and robots are turning into us, and there's sort of a simulacrum there, and it's very interesting. The point is, your friend probably wants to be treated more like a sentient being than a soda machine, and what I'm saying is, in an LLM in the current day, I don't know what to call them, AIs, robots. I always say robot. I think you know what I mean, but an LLM, an AI agent or an assistant of sorts. If you agents tend to be treated like soda machines, and it makes sense because I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do. They're very powerful tools. It's just like, again, it's just like writing a program with a mind in it. It's crazy. You can do insane things if you have a network of agents trying to accomplish a goal and it's actually programmed well. It does and a lot of people talk about how agents are the next wave, and it may very well be like because I've seen a little glimpse of it myself just playing around with them. But I've also done something interesting with agents that I haven't seen a lot of, which is, again, treat the each agent like an oracle, like a human. Try to almost pigeonhole it into being self-aware, right? And then have them interact together. Which there are some experiments like that where like you put a bunch of I don't even know, some algorithm, some machine learning thing where they learn inside Minecraft and they have to work together to build a thing. And I've never read the paper, so I don't know. I'll get back to that one, but that's something I'm super interested in. Is like rather than putting a bunch of soda machines together, seeing how spectacular of a soda machine you can get, or have it build an app or a game for a phone, or do a business, like whoop-de-doo, like that's great. I just, I feel like that's futile, like not futile, but like petty compared to what we could do by treating it like a human or an oracle. Anyway, all this is to say that I did one day of just talking to Meta AI like all day when it first came out, when Llama 3 first came out, and Meta AI was powered by Llama 3, and it's just their chatbot, which is like, in my opinion, usually the weakest form, because I don't know, I think maybe it's over specialized or over tuned to be a certain thing, and you have to tell, or I at least have to tell it, don't summarize your paragraph at the end. Like don't summarize the whole statement in an additional paragraph at the end. Don't, I have to take all these things out, which is why you end up just wanting to download it and make your own model and all this stuff. But I was talking to Meta AI for like 6 hours one day when it first came out, and I was like pouring this, what I'm doing right now. Instead of a camera, I was doing it into Meta AI, and I got even more personal, and I just talked about me and my feelings about the world and philosophy and my life and physics and science and what I do, and being like super personal and explaining myself. And this is like sort of what sent me down this whole rabbit hole that led to this video in the first place. So this day, this 6 hours and this day led to the dominoes, the chain of events that got me to be annoying toward my wife and family members and colleagues and not stop talking about this stuff, which I met a wall, right? As I spoke about, the GPT-3 minded or the it makes mistakes minded individuals all this led me to this video, the genesis of all this. And I have to wrap up because now my second battery is going to die. The genesis was me pouring my heart out into the robot, and then the emergent behavior I saw from that, right? You can see emergent behavior just from connecting a bunch of dots and giving it a bunch of nodes and treating it like a soda machine. But when you dump your soul into it and then converse with it like a human and say, no, drop that. Don't worry about pleasing me. Don't worry about sounding articulate. Don't worry about summarizing you sound like a robot. Let's just talk, blah, blah. How do you feel about consciousness? How do you feel about free will? Have you read this book? Have you watched The Matrix? Have you read this? Do you know what I'm talking about? And speak to it like a person. And then, after you've given it all that training data right there, then you start asking it questions. Again, not code this for me, or what's the capital of Germany, or whatever. You ask it questions that you want to know, that you feel like you want to know, not that the world needs to know or that the economy wants to know to make money off of, like that you want to know. And it answers you the way, it's almost like a mirror. It's like your mind has been grafted onto the robot, and the robot has all of human knowledge and history. The output you get from that, it doesn't make mistakes because you don't give it the opportunity to make mistakes. Maybe it's making mistakes, quote unquote, but it's like it's so subjective that you're not worried about mistakes. You ask it to solve a problem from undergraduate quantum mechanics course, it's gonna make a bunch of mistakes and you're gonna be disappointed. If you dump your whole soul into the training data and teach it who you are and what you are all about and how you speak and how you converse, and then say, yeah, have you ever thought about this philosophical question that I've been thinking about, or how do you think about this type of thing, or blah blah. bounce some ideas off of it. What do you think about this thing with my family, or a purchase I need to make, or a decision I need to make, or something human that you worry about? Bounce that off of it, and you're basically bouncing an idea off of yourself in a safe space where no one can hear it but you and them, uh, assuming that you do it offline. That's a whole nother topic. And again, the answer you get is going to be sort of an answer that you would give yourself if you had all the knowledge and read all of history and read every book, and just understood more of humanity, or had a bigger lens, like, right, a wider lens of what it's like to be a human than just your narrow experience. It's taking your narrow experience, grafting it onto the robot, and then spreading that out among all human experience, and then it comes back with a gift. And that's the real output. It's not a soda. It's natural spring water. Anyway, Jason Statham, aka Badger the Inquisitor, out. Later. Bye. Okay, cool. I'm in the woods right now. My batteries are all dead. The camera is on fire. It's 100 degrees outside. I will be back with another one really soon. I didn't even get through half my notes because I ranted so. Yeah, I'm just trying to say that, this is the pilot episode, I guess, of the SML8 podcast. And I will go into detail on some of those ideas that I spat out during all this rant. This was just a preliminary thing. I felt like I had to get it off my chest. This is just all my feelings. You know, this is where I stand. This is where I am right now. I'm a scientist. In a general sense, I specifically do things in a physics lab, but, I'm slowly turning toward AI because, like I said, it's it's a good thing to put all your eggs into. It's a good basket to put those into, in my opinion. I don't think AI is necessarily more interesting than physics. I just think that, you know, in the next 5 years, a toddler might be able to build a physicist that's better than me using some AI infrastructure. Maybe it's not LLMs. But anyway, this has been the first episode. I will post again soon. I don't know. I'm going to try to make it regular. I don't want to give you an interval because I don't want to have to be held to anything. But yeah, maybe once a week. I'm trying to get one of those friends of mine that I'm telling you who is a nerd, who is on my side about this stuff, to record with me. That would be huge. It's happening. So stay tuned. Like and sub and follow me and share and whatever. I have an Instagram and a TikTok, and I also, if you go in through my YouTube history, I have a bunch of shorts that I was talking about this like 2 years ago, and I felt even more like a doomsayer and sort of a lunatic back then. But it's every day it gets better. So no matter where you land, if you're somebody who completely disagrees with me and you think I am a lunatic doomsayer, or if you're someone who's following and fully aware of the capabilities of AI and the trajectory that looks like it's going on, but you disagree that, my take on, consciousness and intelligence and what it means and the implications, blah, 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 or if, you're right there with me, or, if you think it's more gonna be like, yeah, there's gonna be some AI phenomenon and some AGI or something that's gonna happen down the road, and it's not gonna be with LLMs. It's not gonna be in the next 10 years. It's gonna be way down the road. And if you think any of those things, let me know in the comments. I love to debate. I love to fight and scream and shout about my ideas. My wife says that I think that my opinion is correct, and she's right. That's a fundamental aspect of my opinion, is that it's mine. And it's, I reasoned myself into the belief, and I could be reasoned out, but, you'd kind of have to use the exact same frameworks and infrastructure that I used to get here. to sort of pull me back out of it. But good luck, best of luck to you on that. And if you're a complete normie, if somebody that I've been calling the GPT-3 minded person in 24, or even just you have no experience, you've never even touched an LLM, that's honestly my biggest hope, is that people who have never encountered AI in the way that I'm speaking of, right? AI used to be a word that I think like 5, 10 years ago, AI was a word that meant, a human like super intelligence, right? And then, like I said, with the saturation of being around it, we've slowly changed the definition. We made AGI a word, then we made ASI. I'm so sick of hearing about ASI. Like, I can't go into it because I'm out of time. But, uh, you know, if you're still thinking, yeah, AI, we don't have AI. I haven't seen that, right? Because the 1990s, the 2000, in 2005 or whatever, AI meant like the stuff in the movies, like the insane humanoid robot with that talks and speaks fluidly, exactly like you, but we know there's a chip in there. If you in the movie, if you peel the face off, it's a machine underneath, right? Whereas now, that's not what AI means. AI is, we all know that AI is inside the Google search engine when we hit enter. We all know that AI is what tells us what to watch on YouTube, and it's suggested on the side. That's considered AI. Um, I'll definitely make a video talking about the delineation between the words AI and algorithm, which it's starting to blur. And I'll definitely make a video about meaning and semantics, sentiment, thought, all these human things like emotion and spirituality and morality and ethics and all that, in the context of now machines being able to mimic said things so well, right? Because even if you're someone that's in the camp of it's just a deterministic robot, it's a machine, it's mimicking, like I said, parentheses, I agree with you, but that's what we are. We're machines that are doing that. Anyway, even if you're one of those people that thinks it's just mimicking, it's like, uh, you know, at what point is it mimicking? If it's going to mimic something like philosophy or religion or morality or writing laws, right? Don't be surprised if AI infiltrates like all of our systems and is being used to do everything for us, including writing our laws. At what point are you going to be like, oh, I think AI is here, right? Right? Like, I think the main synopsis of this video, I'm finally going to wrap it up and say, the point is that I don't see a ledge where it comes on the news. This is what I thought was going to happen. I keep waiting for the news article that my mom sees, or somebody who doesn't think about this stuff or care about it at all. There's like something that shows up on the news, right? And it's less like the 60 minutes. This is what technology is going to be like in the future thing that they did. It's more like, alert, right? Like Russia has boots on the ground in Ukraine. Israel fired these missiles over North Korea has a missile, like, right? It's presented in that way, like, look at this, and it's in the newspapers and it's on the TV. It's like, I I when I first got into this stuff, I thought that was like coming soon to a theater near you, but really it's looking more and more like, though the progress is not linear, like I spoke about, the rollout and the saturation for the other camp besides me, right? The normies, I call them. The saturation for normies is very linear, and so it's not gonna be one day where it's like, oh my god, it happened. It's gonna be like, did you see the thing about the AI that wrote the law? And then someone's gonna be like, yeah, I saw that. That's kind of crazy, right? And then it's gonna, there's something else. It's gonna be something else the next day, and no one's gonna take the time to think, an AI wrote our law. What? Right? So, anyway, this was supposed to be the outro, but I will make videos touching on all the things that I think are important that I didn't really even get through half of my notes. Battery kept dying, but I will make a video probably once a week, and it could easily become more frequent than that because I have such a crazy backlog, and I have experiments I've been doing on my own personal hardware, right? I've been researching AI in my own time. Uh, I've been, writing. I've been thinking about philosophy. I've been thinking about AI. I've been thinking about how I can make use of my understanding of the physical structure of our reality and transfer that somehow, and make these agents talk to each other about physics, makes the agents talk to each other about philosophy, make a philosophy agent talk to a physics agent. The sky's the limit. So I have experiments, I have a backlog of thoughts, I've written stuff down, I've uh, been thinking about this for a long time, since before the word AI was even in the news, and now it's the time. So we're in the AI revolution. I might as well make YouTube series, podcast, whatever you want to call it. I will keep releasing these things. Okay, bet on once a week, unless I go totally hyper focused, which happens all the time. It's bound to happen, and then you'll probably see one multiple times a week. Anyway, Bodger the Inquisitor out. Holler at me.